check to make sure that we are good to go here.
Do you remember the old entry on the Pacer games, and it was like
I was thinking about when we figured out how to do this here. Remember when we used to have the green screen and
I do.
we used to struggle with that? What was it, OBS Studio?
Yeah.
That was fun. We are live, so it is working. So this is excellent.
We are live. I'm sharing.
Perfect. Yeah, guys, we're going to get started here in a minute. Share this with a friend, tag a friend. It's going to be a busy 72 hours or so. It does start out to the west today. You can kind of see where the tornado watches have already been issued out in Nebraska and Kansas. And then this is not something you see very often. This area in Kansas and Oklahoma, including Oklahoma City, a 95% probability of a tornado watch, and that is a PDS, or a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch. Those don't get issued super often. Live stream studio. Thank you, Brian. I said OBS live stream. It was like 3 years ago. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. So,
Well, welcome
here.
Oh, wow. Sorry. Welcome, everybody. Brett, we have real quick, a couple things. We are wearing these. Turn your screen share off real quick, will you?
Oh, yeah.
We are wearing our hats from our Cure Starts Now for the 5K. We got some hats, and that so far is turning out to be pretty incredible. And so, Brett, if the link is here, I think I see it. Make sure that folks are know that they can run for this in the Cure Starts Now 5K, and donate, contribute to the research of childhood brain cancer. Run, get healthy, community. I'm really impressed with the interest and just the participation this early. So
yeah,
I'm pumped for that, and that's what these hats are. So let's talk about severe weather.
Sure. So I can't really around here remember an event that was 3 days in a row like this. It's been a long time. I feel like since we've had just a 3 consecutive day event, especially 2 of them being across the Ohio Valley, and so we've had it is certainly going to be. Yeah, it was Michael. You're messing with me, but certainly I think it's going to be one to remember. And it starts today out in the plains, and so you can see nothing really right now, Michael, on the radar. There's a couple of storms that are beginning to develop across northern parts of Kansas. If we go over to the severe weather map for today,
share your screen too, Brett.
Oh yeah, thank you. We're having a good time so far.
Well, this is new, getting us both in here at the same time.
There we go. Okay, can you see that? Okay.
Yeah. Looks great.
Okay, now we're actually looking at the radar, and let me turn back on the radar so you can see where the storms are developing across northwestern, north central portions of Kansas. 2 severe thunderstorm warnings already in effect. This is just the start. This secondary area down here, this is where a PDS tornado watch is going to be issued here in the next hour or two. And this is where the main show is going to be across south central Kansas, Oklahoma, and into northern Texas as we work into this afternoon. And I can't remember the last time we've had a high risk. It's been a while, I feel like. But if we look at the hail is going to be a huge issue. 45% hatched area for hail. That could be 2 to 4 inch diameter hail. So the hail is certainly a big threat, but I'm also concerned, and obviously here with the outlook, let me turn off the discussions just so we can see this a little bit better. But I'm concerned with multiple violent long track tornadoes in this area in pink with this rare high risk today, Michael. And that's the focus, but look how expansive the tornado threat is today across the central portion of the country. And this, again, the same storm system, this is going to be the one that pushes further off to the east and impacts the Ohio Valley as we work into tomorrow and into Wednesday. Maybe not at quite the same intensity, but I think that it has the ability to produce a pretty big outbreak here especially Wednesday. But I think tomorrow's a day that we need to keep a close eye on too. I know you were looking at it earlier.
Yeah, I've got a couple things that what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and share my screen,
Yeah.
Brett, and kind of talk about some things I was seeing for tomorrow. Um, the interesting part about tomorrow is at least the potential for the first round. I'm going to zoom out here and we'll go to just a day two. Um, just keep it the base outlook. Here's the hail risk for tomorrow. Um, the thing I'm interested in tomorrow is most of, if not all of the high resolution model guidance for tomorrow is clearing the first wave out pretty quickly, and allowing for instability to build back in and for the second wave to come in at a pretty good clip here in terms of, you know, being charged up, having the things that it needs for severe weather. What I want to show you real quick is what I'm talking about. I'm pulling this up as I'm talking so you guys can kind of see. And I'm going to share the screen here, share this tab instead. This is what we call the high resolution ensemble forecast, the HREF data. So this takes all of our high resolution weather models and it looks at all their solutions. It looks at all their potential outcomes. And what this tells us is all these different colors. This is a paintball map. It's an ensemble paintball. It's a neat way to look at all the data and figure out, okay, what's all the data, all the models saying for timing. And right now, strong agreement in this is about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Here's 11 a.m. and noon. And by noon to 1 o'clock, the majority of the activity is in eastern Indiana. And this time of year, guys, there's two comments I want to make. One, modeling is often too slow. Oftentimes things clear out quicker than models advertise. That's just something I've noticed in the years of doing this is probably an hour or two slower, in my opinion. Maybe not, but that's my opinion right now. That's what I'm going to say. And then it only takes a couple of hours when you get into May for the sun and everything to recharge and the Cape to come back right where it needs to be. And the high-res models do that very quickly. You can see by 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow, just about every piece of data is redeveloping thunderstorm activity across the area. And so the instability would increase and rebound rather rapidly. That is all going to depend on cloud cover. We talk about this every severe weather setup, Brett. There's got to be clouds clearing out and sunshine working in for the atmosphere to recover.
For sure. And I think that was the issue with kind of the last severe weather event is that it just hung around for a little bit longer in the morning hours and even into the early afternoon. And ultimately, things struggled to develop. And so, if we can get things to clear out, and I think an important thing to keep in mind is that sometimes, and if anything, the model data can be a little bit too slow with some of these AM waves, especially with how organized it looks like it's going to be from the west. I think that there is more of an opportunity tomorrow to clear things out than maybe some of the other events we've had so far this year.
Yeah. In fact, if you look at this particular tab I'm sharing right now, this is the European model, and just looking at the cloud cover for tomorrow, again, you can kind of see. Actually, I'm going to go to a 700 RH plot. You can kind of see the tendency to clear out relatively quick there, that dry slot that works in, especially at 500 millibars. You can see that morning wave come in, and then that pretty rapid clear out there. And the European's actually a little bit more conservative versus the other models, but it does recover Cape rather quickly and sufficiently for severe weather. Again, that's the European, and the GFS is much more intense. The American model here recovers it a lot quicker. Regardless, there's plenty of instability for things to recover and for tomorrow evening to feature its own round of respectable thunderstorm reports that are going to be severe. So that's really my point. You have I believe you might have an image, Brett, for tomorrow's severe risk to share in terms of what we're thinking.
Yeah, here's the one that Matt made this morning. Let me turn this on. This is the area. This is the risk right now. It updated. I think it was at like 1:30 a.m. is when they put this out. It won't update again until late tonight. But this is what Matt actually put out early this morning to our clients on Clarity, letting them know that the area that has the highest risk for severe weather tomorrow afternoon, and that includes damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes, is this area in the black circle. And so that is going to include anyone from Evansville, Bloomington, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Dayton, and then kind of along the border of Columbus, Ohio there. So a pretty decent area. And again, I think that there's the potential here to upgrade this to an enhanced risk for tomorrow specifically. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they've got a new outlook that'll come out, here in the next, I don't know, little bit
15 minutes.
next. And then the day 3 outlook will be the one that comes out later tonight. But certainly, I think that there's the potential for this to be upgraded to an enhanced risk.
Yeah, I agree. I'll show another plot here too that may help folks kind of understand when looking at least right now. I mean, when looking at all of the data in that map that you're showing. Let me see if I can share my screen here. All the data there with the map that you're showing.
Yeah.
This is the high res, again, the high res version of all the ensembles. And so this is kind of showing you the epicenter of where those updraft helicities, those strongest, most organized thunderstorms are forecast to be at the present time, which is, again, just overall very close to the map that Brett just showed. So 24, 36 hours out. If I were a betting man in terms of where this might be, where you see these contours, the highest, that's probably where we're going to see a day 2 enhanced risk come out here in about 15 minutes or so for the severe weather probabilities to be a little bit higher. Again, all based on the clearing out of wave 1, round 1 tomorrow morning and sunshine. If we don't clear out and it doesn't get sunny and instability does not recover, round 2 of storms tomorrow is not that bad, or at least not as what it could be. So I think we've beat this one into the ground. Let's take questions real quick on round 1, and then we'll move to Wednesday.
Yeah, and here's a look. I just wanted to throw this up here to give people a little bit of a visual for tomorrow. As you mentioned, I think a bigger bust potential tomorrow if the AM wave hangs around too long. But here's a model data earlier today that did allow things to clear out a little bit. And here's what would happen, assuming we do clear out as expected as we work into 3, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow. Lafayette, Indianapolis, Bloomington, all the way down towards Evansville, kind of at play for this. And I think, again, large hail, damaging winds, and a couple of tornadoes possible with this. And in fact, I think that large hail could be a sneaky threat. We don't often get super large hailstones around here, but I feel like we've had more of it the last couple of years where we've had some instances of 2-3 inch hail. Wouldn't 100% shock me in this type of a setup.
Yeah. So just FYI too, if you guys, any of you watching want to get your businesses out and you want to advertise that, you're going to reach millions of people on the stream. You can DM us, especially roofing restoration. You all are probably going to be pretty busy. You want to get your name out there. We're happy to help you with that. And sponsor / pay for the updates. That's what we do. So happy to discuss that. If any of you are interested, you want to reach probably north of 2 million people. That's what will happen. So hit us up. I'm looking for questions on tomorrow. Just trying to see here. Just curious on timing. Yeah, we'll get to Wednesday in just a second. Here's a good question, Brett. How much rain, possibly hail size for Northwest Indy? That is a good question there. Perhaps we can show the rainfall forecast for tomorrow.
Let me pull this up. There we go. So this is through tomorrow evening. I think what's important to keep in mind, number one, again, we've got 2 waves. So there's going to be the potential for some weakening thunderstorms that could drop some decent rain rates for a brief time tomorrow morning. And then the secondary wave and any severe storms will be capable of putting down a quick 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain. And so, where you get a storm or 2 over the same location, you could pick up an inch and a half of rain pretty easily as this moves through. And I think what is nice about this map here is I think you can really see where the biggest severe weather threat is, because you can see where those localized heavier rain totals are from really along and south of Kokomo all the way down towards Louisville and Lexington. Southern Indiana, southwestern Ohio, and here maybe southeastern Illinois, northern Kentucky. That's going to be the target area. Becomes a little bit more sporadic the further north that you go, where those totals are more in the range of a quarter to locally half an inch.
Real quick, what's the Kokomo-Tipton area looking like, Brett?
Yeah, I think Kokomo for for Tuesdays specifically. Again, I think that you have the morning wave. So if we go back here to the simulated radar real quick, you've got the morning wave that's going to come in probably 11 a.m. or so. You can see that right here. A couple of stronger storms, some heavy rain, lightning possible. And then I do think that you were just on the north side in terms of where this highest threat is going to be tomorrow. I wouldn't be shocked if it came a little bit further north, just given how these systems normally go. So I do think you're in the severe weather threat area. Any of these storms, 3, 4, 5 o'clock tomorrow, capable of producing large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornado up there.
Brian, you see Brian's comment?
No, let's see.
I've got to display it. He says, please look at the map, what they are saying. We have to say this every time because it is on the map and it is there. So yes, we would appreciate if you would look at the map that we have on the screen, please. Thank you. Hey, real quick, Brett, I'm going to share this so I know we've got people asking about tomorrow. And so I wanted to talk just briefly about how much rain has fallen in the central U.S. with that system. We had big flooding over the weekend, historic proportions of flooding down in Texas. In fact, probably some 1 in 500 year, flooding. I mean, if you look down here across the Houston area, northeast side of Houston, last 3 days, you've had over 16 inches of rain. An absolutely crazy amount of rain has come from this system, and as this storm continues to kind of just work up into the north and east it's going to impact a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be taking an impact from this. Just looking at the rainfall forecast the next 24 hours, you can see just how much rain is forecast to fall across western Iowa. And this is an ensemble mean, so some of this locally probably much higher, but an ensemble mean the next 24 hours coming out of clarity of being, over an inch and a half of rain, not going to be out of the question at all. In fact, just real quick, I do believe there are several flood watches up here in northeastern Oklahoma. There's flood watches in effect, for the potential of 1 to 3 inches of rain over a short period of time with these potent storms. So this is an all-around nasty setup for these folks. And the rain will be locally heavy wherever it goes. So let's get into day 2, shall we? Or Wednesday. I'm sorry, day 3.
Wednesday. So this I'm going to share this. This is pretty wild to me, but I feel like this particular model, it's an experimental model from Colorado State, and it did really well. If you all remember the tornadoes that went through Winchester and into northern and central Ohio. Gosh, what was that? Late in February or late in March or somewhere in there. This model, I think, did better than really any of the other ones. I remember that verified a little bit further north than what most of the high resolution models had that day. And this particular model was one that did well. And so this is the severe weather probability forecast for Wednesday. And this is as amped as I've really ever seen it, just to be completely honest. And this would basically indicate the probability for severe weather along the Ohio River 60 to 100%, which is insane. Whether it's too amped or not, that remains to be seen. But based off of the dynamics that I was looking at, Michael, I think that this next update that comes out tonight needs to, at the very least, have a moderate threat from southeast Missouri and then along the southern third of Indiana and into northern Kentucky. And so this is a little striking to me, just given how amped that this model is.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it's one of those things where if I was having a conversation with a few of the guys earlier, it's if things play out to their potential, it will be a historic day of tornadoes and severe weather. It'll be one for the history books, I believe, wherever it decides to take place. If everything goes as planned in terms of models, that doesn't mean that's going to happen. Listen, this isn't one of those guaranteed type things, but if things go as planned, the setup is there for a really nasty severe weather threat. And really, what's striking to me, Brett, is the wind, the jet support.
Mhm.
It's it's not every day you get that type of support with the jet streams along a warm front here into the area, and have a low level jet max of, you know, 50, 60, 70 knots. And then, but you also have that at the higher levels as well, the upper level jet support. So I just thought that was interesting. Regardless, it's a strong setup for, um, you know, a widespread or large scale severe weather outbreak in that regard. So the timing of that may be a little interesting in terms of, we're still 2 days out with timing. You can see this outlook here that Brett has with the potential upgrade to a day 2 moderate risk. I think anytime you do that, it always introduces the potential for the day 1 high, which is what we're seeing right now.
Mhm.
If the things pan out the way the models say, then I would anticipate this to potentially pose a high risk threat somewhere in the area here highlighted.
Yeah, it's not impossible. I think ultimately what is going to be the determining factor on this is where exactly the warm front sets up. So I'm going to show the GFS here just real quick. Personally, I think it's done a better job in this pattern than the European model, because I know we've got some people kind of asking about timing, and so it's going to be evening and into the early overnight, kind of in that window. I'm not going to get super specific on exact timing just yet, given we're still more than 48 hours out at this point. But I think the key, and you can see the little low here, is oftentimes as we get a little bit closer and data sees what we call warm air advection, or warm air from the south moving a little bit further north, this will shift a little bit further north. And so I think the question right now is, if we go back to this map here, let me go back here, does this highest risk come a little bit further north? Is it right here? And I think ultimately that's just going to be the determining factor in terms of where that moderate or potentially high risk ends up setting up.
Mm-hmm.
The warm front is ultimately the key that we're going to have to watch. And as we get more high resolution data late tonight and into tomorrow, we'll have a little bit of a better idea on where exactly that could set up. Right now, the best threat, or we should say the worst threat, is kind of along the Ohio River. But central Indiana, you are still certainly in a threat, and the highest threat could come north. And so I think everybody across central Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, pretty much all of Kentucky and southeast Missouri need to be watching this forecast very, very carefully.
Brett, the around here, anyways, the risk for at least the very large hail and the tornado threat, in my opinion, would be um, enhanced or higher because of the warm front placement, really along and just south of the I-70 corridor. Any of those 1, 2, or 3 supercell thunderstorms that link to the warm front can be very problematic in a setup like that. I think targeting where that warm front is really the key to all of this.
For sure. And here is the GFS, so you can see where the warm front is, because these are dew points, 70-degree dew points. This time of the year, number one, is very soupy. Going to be very hot and muggy on Wednesday. But you can see that the line that is draped here from central Illinois and then kind of through Bloomington. And so it's right along that line. These are only 3-hour chunks, so where exactly it ends is a little bit hard to tell. But again, kind of draped along the I-70 corridor there, anywhere south of that going to be at play.
Brett, so that map that you all see right there, I'm going to share this map. This was a surface map from from a setup back in 2012, March 2nd, 2012. And, that's a very, very similar placement. It's very similar setup. It's overall, it's very similar.
I, I I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was thinking that earlier when I started looking at this setup. The only difference is it's early May instead of early March, and so the atmosphere is just even more amped up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, when you've been forecasting events like this around this area for a better part of 15 years, some of these surface maps can be ingrained into your memory. So I just remember this one like it was yesterday, but
Yeah.
it's very similar. It doesn't mean it's a repeat. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying the setup is very similar. And that's if there's a very high ceiling of potential, and if the ceiling is met, that's kind of an idea of what happened in 2012 on that particular day. And I will share with you this map because I do think that it's relevant, and I do think that it should at least be talked about because of the map that Brett has shown with the model that we were talking about. But that's just a look at the number of severe weather reports from that particular event was very high. And so, you can see 950 severe weather reports with several tornadoes, along with that. So you just kind of get the idea of the general setup here. It's very similar. I would be curious, Brett, if any of the SIPS analogs target any of those years. I haven't looked. But
I
was just
didn't. I
curious.
looked earlier and they didn't.
Okay.
They weren't. I would say they weren't that aggressive. So that would be one potential thing that isn't super excited about severe weather. Here's a look. I was looking it up. Here's a look at what the day 2 was on the severe weather. Whoop. I don't know where it took me, but anyway,
Yeah.
it had a day 2 or a day 1 high risk, and it was a 45% hatched area for tornadoes. So that just as a reference would be insane to see around here.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so there's Brian is sending me a picture because that there you go. You all took that, didn't you?
Yep. That was Henryville EF4 tornado, Henryville,
So
Indiana. So yeah, guys, just an idea. We, follow along, keep us here. We're simply just trying to give you an idea of the threat, not scare anybody or force anyone into panic. It's just, you know, just what it is. We should have a new outlook literally any second. I was kind of trying to delay the stream to go long enough to see the new outlook just so we could share it. I haven't seen it pop in just yet. But
yeah, I don't see it
do we
yet.
want to take some questions, Brett, while we're waiting on?
Yeah, we can. I'll try to go through and answer some questions. I do want to again bring up the Cure starts now in the Storm Cancer 5K on June 2nd. That is less than a month away now. If you want to run, walk, or do it virtually or sponsor, the deadline to get a guaranteed T-shirt size that is May 15th. So that's coming up. Same thing. Sponsor deadline is May 15th. So there is a link pinned in the comments. You can also message us, email me at brett@bmwx.com. We'd love for you all to get involved. You can sign up if you just want to walk or run there at the link that's pinned in the comments. So here's a look. Let me send this. If you all like medals, we are going to have medals. Pull this up. Here are the medals with the little Storm Cancer logo on it. That's Addie's rainbow that she drew with the pastel colors there. So really cool that we're going to be able to do that. We do have top finisher medals that are going to be there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And Michael's running in a Thor costume, by the way.
Yeah, I ran Friday I ran my first one here in a while, and I'm still sore from it. And I'm going to start training, but I'm going to have to train in a costume here soon. So that's going to be interesting.
Here's a question. What is Wednesday's timing? Multiple waves again? Looks like just one wave on Wednesday, and it's going to be late afternoon and probably through the evening hours.
New day 2 is in, Brett. They did not enhance. They did expand the day 2, at least significant risk for hail.
Okay.
And so I will just show that real quickly here, and then we can wrap this up. Actually, I lied. They did go to an enhanced. My
Oh,
apologies. It is. Let me share the screen. I was a little confused. So it's kind of in the epicenter of where we showed that href, that
interesting.
ensemble viewer map the other
Yeah.
not long ago. And so there is an enhanced from Fort Wayne over to Columbus, Ohio, just kind of northeast of there. Um, I don't know if it's reflecting on my screen or not. Is it showing up?
Yep. Yep. I can see it.
Can you turn the video of you and me off? Um, so there's the day two, and then there's the day two tornado. So you have the 10% hatched significant tornado threat, Muncie, Fort Wayne, Lima, Ohio, Columbus, Springfield. As those storms materialize, you can see the hail risk did expand dramatically for most of the area, significant hail threat. As Brett was mentioning earlier, I do think there is a potential there upside of some larger than normal hail tomorrow through a few of these thunderstorms. And so that is something to certainly keep in mind. It wouldn't shock me. It's all how this pans out. It wouldn't shock me if there's some type of moderate somewhere tomorrow, if clearing works out and things really go the way they're supposed to go. It's not too often you see a day two 10% significant tornado risk and a large scale significant hail threat across the Ohio Valley. So that's tomorrow, day one or day two outlook, with again pending that the morning stuff clears out and we see sunshine working. Specifically for Wednesday, are you expecting an upgrade? Yeah, we are. I think so. I mean, regardless, the weather's going to happen, whether it upgrades or not. I think a lot of people sometimes get confused by that. Whether no matter what the map says, the weather's going to do. It doesn't follow the map. The weather does what it does. So
Yeah,
what else
for
do we
sure.
have, Brett?
Let's see here. I'm kind of scrolling up through a bunch of comments. Thank you all for participating. Yeah, don't let it. A lot of people saying they're scared. Not trying to scare anyone, just trying to keep you all prepared. We wouldn't say this stuff if we didn't think that it was possible. And I think it's also important to keep in mind that just because there's a risk, not everyone in the risk area is going to see severe weather. Those risk, that 10% risk means there's a 10% probability of a stronger tornado within 25 miles of any point. So it doesn't mean that just because you're in that area, you're for sure going to get hit by a tornado. Um, you know, Tornadoes are small generally in the grand scheme of things. So just keep that in mind too.
Brett, I've got a few people asking for, can you show hour by hour threat tomorrow? I'll just pull up a model that generally kind of aligns with the href that I was showing earlier in terms of timing. This is 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon. You can see the line is east. First round may bring a gusty thunderstorm or some hail and some thunder and lightning tomorrow morning around the 9 and 10 a.m. time frame. Again, by 1 o'clock, that's east of the area. And we're 2 o'clock, we're cleared out. 3 o'clock's cleared out. 4 o'clock, and then by 5 o'clock, thunderstorms would develop in perhaps cellular-like nature, meaning some of those storms could certainly be more individually organized, and just probably why there's that enhanced risk now for some stronger tornadoes. There's 6 o'clock. Again, you can see the supercell nature look there. If we do clear out, I don't see a reason to disagree with that, Brett. I don't know if you do or not, but
Yeah, if we clear out something like that, certainly possible. A lot of people asking about school. I think right now the biggest threat would be after school activities. Would you agree with that for tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now we're looking after 4 p.m. for development. We can get kids home, and then anything afterwards would be the concern. There's 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. There's 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So you can kind of see how we become a little bit more linear. But this particular weather model shows more of an individual cell-like look, which, again, based on the clearing out of things, could be problematic if that actually were to come to fruition. So this one takes us all the way out to the very end. You can see by Wednesday night, you can see the thunderstorm activity already developing. That's going to be the next round. So we won't get too much into timing there, but hopefully that helps you all with some ideas for tomorrow on timing. So,
alrighty. Well, hey, we will be back. We're planning on doing live streams tomorrow, like 8 a.m., 12 p.m., 8 a.m. before the first wave, 12 p.m. as we watch things clear out, and then 4 p.m. as things start to initialize. So be sure to stay tuned, share this with a friend, tag a friend in the comments. And we'll probably be live later today on Twitter and YouTube too for people out in Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, into that area as well. So if you have friends there, be sure to tag them. Be sure to tell them to like BAM. We're going to be chatting about that as well because a high risk is certainly rare for anywhere. And I think it could be a pretty big deal out there today. So, as Michael put on there, if you want to sponsor these streams, email michael@bamwx.com. I think the post on Saturday reached 150,000 people, and that was 4 or 5 days from the big risk. So if that tells you anything, certainly could give some good exposure for your business.
Yep. Guys, thanks for the participation. Thanks for keeping posted here. We'll see you back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock.